Look closely at the modern American classroom. We see wildly inconsistent student outcomes across different zip codes, and a workforce of teachers leaving the profession in record numbers. The standard response is to treat these as personnel issues, demanding better hiring or a more dedicated work ethic from individual educators. But a major franchise like Starbucks doesn't just hand an operator a logo and a bag of coffee beans. The franchise succeeds because it includes a complete operating system. In a true franchise, the operator receives standardized workflows, supply chains, proven training scripts, and troubleshooting guides that ensure consistency regardless of the location. K-12 education offers the opposite. We hand our teachers a classroom, a list of standards, and accountability metrics, but provide almost no operational infrastructure to run the room. This creates an impossible mandate. Educators are implicitly ordered to build their own daily workflows, instructional materials, and assessment cycles from scratch while they are trying to teach. Teacher burnout and student inequity are the predictable, structural results of a design that substitutes individual heroics for a working system. To understand why this manual is missing, we have to look backward. Today's educational system was never intentionally designed. It accumulated through a series of accidental historical layers. It starts with Layer 1, the 19th century industrial factory model. Planners organized schools to process standardized batches of students as efficiently as possible, prioritizing rigid schedules over personalization. This foundational era didn't need a complex operating manual. Expectations for students were narrow, and teachers were treated as simple task executors rather than designers of instruction. By the mid-20th century, progressive reformers pushed back against this factory schooling. They wanted classrooms driven by creativity and teacher autonomy. But instead of building a supportive operational framework that allowed that autonomy to thrive, reformers simply stripped away the existing structures. Professional autonomy became a disguise for abandonment. It isolated teachers, forcing them to invent everything themselves while managing the entire classroom ecosystem alone. This historical compromise granted teachers the freedom to design, but withheld the infrastructure they needed to do it, cementing a culture of do-it-yourself curriculum. Realizing individual teachers couldn't reasonably invent every lesson, districts turned to Layer 3, the textbook era. They outsourced the operating system to major publishers. These textbooks provided content, but their static nature made them poor tools for dynamic workflows. They lacked modern pedagogy and couldn't adapt to the needs of diverse learners. Then came Layer 4, the accountability era. The last 20 years add in high-stakes testing, data cycles, and strict equity mandates to the teacher's workload. We increased the expectations for what classrooms must achieve, yet we failed to provide the new operating manuals or workflows required to meet those mandates. This created the structural absurdity of the modern K-12 system, 21st century accountability pressures crushing down on 20th century autonomy, all balanced on a 19th century factory foundation. The friction between these mismatched historical layers is the root cause of the chronic inefficiency we see in our schools. We are currently forcing educators to deliver complex, modern educational outcomes using a patchwork of incompatible infrastructure. K-12 education is an obsolete architecture, performing exactly as any accidental, unengineered system would. True educational equity is impossible when a system relies on the varying materials and individual heroics of thousands of isolated teachers. To fix this, districts must move beyond personnel support and adopt a complete franchise-grade instructional system. A modern architecture provides consistent instructional workflows, predictable assessment cycles, and teacher-ready materials that eliminate the need for constant reinvention. This infrastructure shifts the heavy cognitive load of design off the frontline educator and onto the system itself. A modern workforce requires graduates capable of high-level analysis and collaboration. Because our current system was designed for an industrial economy that no longer exists, it struggles to deliver those outcomes at scale. District leadership must stop asking teachers to build the system while trying to operate it. It is time to finally provide the missing operating manual.